The title of this video, A Lost Human Ship, emerged from black space, fully armed. At the edge of known space, the exploration ship Stellar Wind encounters the impossible. UHS Revenant, a legendary human warship lost for centuries, emerges from a rift in black space, fully armed and fused with alien technologies. Its captain, now part machine, warns of a Null Kin, ancient entities seeking to invade reality through the fracture. As the Revenant returns to seal the breach from within, Captain Elara Myles and her crew must decide between fleeing or standing ready for a war that never ended, one that threatens to consume all of humanity if they fail to prepare. The void stretched endlessly, a dark canvas stippled with the dim glow of distant stars. But here, at the edge of map space, darkness ruled. Captain Elara Myles stood on the bridge of the Stellar Wind, her eyes locked on the anomalous readings pulsing across the command console. The data stream was impossible, gravitational distortions where there should be none, whispers of electromagnetic echoes, and worst of all, faint transmissions in a dead human dialect centuries old. "This can't be real," muttered Dr. Aiken Voss, hunched over his array of instruments, fingers twitching with nervous energy. His eyes, sunken from sleepless nights chasing cosmic aberrations, reflected the data in pulsing blue. It's not just a signal. Something's coming through, from the black space. Commander Juno Rel, rigid in posture, arms crossed over his armored chest, gave an audible scoff. "We shouldn't be out here. No ships return from black space, Captain. That's not superstition, it's history." Elara kept her gaze forward. She'd heard the legends too, explorers vanishing without trace, entire fleets swallowed by the abyss beyond the navigable frontier. Black space wasn't mapped because it defied comprehension, a place where even physics grew suspect. But this signal, it was human, fractured, degraded, but unmistakably Terran. "We didn't come to the edge of known space to turn back when it gets interesting," Elara said. She spoke calmly, though her stomach twisted with unease. "Patch me through." Voss hesitated, then tapped in the command. Static burst over Bridges' speakers, an arrhythmic pulse of sound that seemed almost like speech gasping through a respirator. After long seconds, a broken voice emerged, metallic, stretched by time. "Revenant returning, war not, over." Rel cursed under his breath. "Revenant? That ship's a ghost. It vanished 2 centuries ago during the Rim Wars." Elara's mind reeled. The UHS Revenant was a warship of myth, a dreadnought sent into uncharted space in a last-ditch campaign against an enemy no records fully described. It was said to have vanished with all hands, a casualty of arrogance or betrayal, depending on which historian you trusted. The bridge fell into tense silence until the sensors spiked again. An aperture tore open ahead of them. Not a wormhole, but a rift in the void itself. Space shimmered, warping as though reality were fabric straining over something immense. Then the ship emerged. The Revenant drifted from the rupture, like a predator breaching water, its silhouette vast and brutal. Where sleek lines once defined human warcraft, now jagged armor and fused constructs warped its profile. Cannons the size of city blocks bristled from its flanks, and along its hull, red lights glowed faintly, like eyes waking from a nightmare. The ship was scarred, its exterior mangled by battles unknown, yet it moved with undeniable power. "Power levels off the charts," Voss whispered. "It's alive, fully armed. Are we reading life signs?" Elara asked. "Something, but they're distorted," Voss replied, struggling to parse the data. "If there are humans on board, they're not entirely human anymore." Rel's hand hovered near the command console's defense systems. "Recommend we back off now, Captain. We're sitting ducks." Before Elara could reply, the Revenant's forward batteries activated. Energy flared to life, weapon systems humming like an awakening leviathan. A targeting array locked onto the stellar wind, a silent declaration of hostility. Evasive maneuvers. Elara snapped. The stellar wind dove as searing beams lanced past, searing space where the ship had been moments before. Alarm shrieked as the shields flared, energy dispersing against near misses. The ship shuddered, but Rel's quick tactical orders kept them alive, threading through danger. "This thing is firing on us with millennial-old tech, and it still outguns us," Rel growled. They're not attacking mindlessly, Voss observed through gritted teeth. They're testing us, measuring. Why? Elara demanded, steering the ship to the fringe of the rift's gravity well. We're not their enemy, Voss guessed. Not yet. Suddenly, a direct transmission pierced their comms, clearer, darker, undeniably human yet wrong. The voice spoke like metal grinding against bone. This is the UHS Revenant. War persists. Identify your allegiance or be annihilated. Elara stared at the comm interface, her mind racing. What war? Who were they still fighting after all this time? And what had they become in black space to still be fighting at all? Rel's eyes met hers. We have to leave, Captain. This isn't our war. But Elara wasn't sure. Something deeper had returned with the Revenant, a relic of humanity transformed by darkness. And if they fled now, they might never learn what war still raged beyond the black. She gave the order to hold position. The Revenant hung there, weapons humming, watching, and Elara, with a tight breath, knew that whatever came next, humanity's past had just arrived, armed, dangerous, and still at war. The docking clamps secured a reluctant groan, the stellar wind tethered to the Revenant like a child clutching a corpse's hand. Inside the airlock, Elara adjusted her suit seals, her pulse thrumming harder than she liked to admit. The air between the two ships was toxic and pressurized unevenly, but the Revenant had allowed them access, if not exactly welcomed them. You're certain we should do this? Rel muttered, locking the last of his armor clasps with a mechanical hiss. His visor polarized, concealing a face set like stone. We're here, Elara answered. We don't learn anything by running. Voss was already fussing with the scanners, eyes bright with dread and wonder. This ship is a living artifact. Think about it. Revenant was lost centuries ago, and yet the materials, the energy signatures, it's as if the ship adapted, or was adapted. The airlock slid open with a guttural groan. They stepped into dimness broken by veins of crimson light, snaking along the walls. The metal was not smooth. Patches were fused with dark, sinew material, neither wholly machine nor organic. Every sound seemed swallowed, as if the corridors themselves disapproved of their presence. Rel kept his rifle raised. This place feels wrong, like it remembers pain. They moved in formation, every footstep a trespass. Doors opened before them without prompt, as though the Revenant guided them inward. The deeper they went, the clearer it became that the ship wasn't just operational. It was aware. At last, they entered a wide chamber, perhaps once an observation deck, now half consumed by growths like fossilized coral and blackened vines of steel. In the center stood a figure, human-shaped, motionless, partially encased in a carapace of dark alloy. Its face was pale, stretched tight over a skull-like frame, wires and tubes threaded through exposed veins. Its eyes, dim with a flicker of red, snapped open. I am Captain Ardenhale, it said, voice crackling like a distant radio. You stand on the Revenant. Identify. Elara stepped forward, suppressing the instinct to recoil. Captain Elara Myles, Stellar Wind, United Terran Command. Hale's head tilted, as if listening to voices no one else heard. Command? No Terran signals detected for over 400 years. Voss blinked, glancing at his instruments. 400 years? You've been gone 2 centuries. To us, it has been longer, Hale replied. His voice carried the weight of time, or perhaps madness. We crossed into black space on pursuit of the adversary. We found victory, but at unacceptable cost. What happened to your crew? Rel demanded. Hale's gaze flicked to Rel, and for a second his red eyes pulsed brighter. We adapted. Black space is not void. It is a crucible. We fused with what we found, or we perished. Voss stepped closer, all overtaking caution. Fused? With what? Survival, Hale said simply. The Null Kin, entities without form but infinite hunger. To face them, we became more. Elara's throat tightened. And the war you spoke of? You're still fighting. The Null Kin cannot be defeated, only delayed, Hale answered. We seal them behind the fracture, but it weakens. Our return is not triumph. It is warning. The chamber vibrated faintly. a deep sound like the groan of a universe in pain. The Revenant's lights brightened briefly, then dimmed again. Rel stepped between Elara and Hale. If they're coming, you should have stayed on the other side. To die? To let your reality fall next. Hale's tone was colder. We return because the Null Kin are not finished. Silence held the chamber, heavy as lead. Elara looked around, the evidence of Hale's words etched into every wall. The merging of steel, flesh, and something unknowable. We need to warn command, Elara said, turning to Voss. Can we boost the signal back home? Voss nodded hesitantly. If the ship allows it. Hale spoke again, softer. You are not prepared. You have neither the weapons nor the will to face what comes. Then help us, Elara said. Share your knowledge. Hale smiled, a brittle, joyless thing. You are too clean, soft. Your species survived by forgetting how dark the void truly is. The ship trembled again, deeper this time. Somewhere distant, a sound echoed like a wail being born. They found us, Hale whispered. The Null Kin. Elara's heart pounded, but she stood her ground. Then show us how to fight them. Hale stared at her a long moment, then turned. Follow me. If you wish to survive, you will need to understand what survival costs. As they followed him deeper into the ship, Elara glanced once at Rel. His eyes warned what he didn't say aloud. This alliance might save them, or it might be the first step into something far worse than death. The descent into the Revenant's core was a passage through madness. Elara led the way, her visor illuminating walls that pulsed faintly, alive with circuits that resembled veins beneath translucent skin. Every corridor seemed to breathe, faint and rhythmic, as if the ship still remembered the cadence of a human heart. Captain Hale moved ahead of them with mechanical precision, his steps echoing like distant machinery, the cables that fused his body to the ship's infrastructure humming softly with each motion. What is this place now? Voss asked, his voice low with reverence and fear. Hale didn't turn. The heart of the ship and the gate to black space. We rewired the engines, the reactors, the fleshed crew, merged them to form a barrier. But it is failing. What did you become to survive here? Elara pressed, though she feared the answer. Something less than human, Hale replied, his voice hollow. And something more. The Null Kin cannot be faced by flesh alone. We became the weapon. They arrived at a chamber vast as a cathedral, where a core of writhing energy hovered. Part reactor, part organism. Tendrils of light and dark spiraled into its depths, warping the air. Around it stood remnants of the crew, or what remained of them, figures half-forged in metal and sinew, their eyes vacant, bodies fused into the walls and floors. They watched the newcomers silently, sentinels forever rooted to the Revenant's lifeblood. Voss scanned them, swallowing hard. Are they alive? They endure, Hale answered. Each volunteered, some more willingly than others. Rel stepped closer to Elara. This is an abomination. We should destroy this thing before it brings the Null Kin through. If we do, Voss warned, we might tear open the rift entirely. Correct, Hale said. Destroy the core and you guarantee collapse. The Null Kin would spill into your space, unrestricted. Elara stared at the core. The energies inside shifted like a storm of ink and starlight, violent and beautiful. Then what's your plan, Hale? Stay here and hold the door forever. We return, Hale said. The fracture must be sealed from within. The Revenant must cross back and burn itself out, closing the way. But we need help to stabilize the transition. You mean us, Rel said bitterly. Hale inclined his head. You can flee, or you can help. If you run, the Null Kin will still come, later but stronger. The air in the chamber grew heavy, an almost psychic pressure building. Voss checked his instruments, eyes narrowing. We don't have time to debate. The rift is widening. I'm detecting something else. What is it? Elara asked. Voss hesitated. A presence. It's here. Without warning, the walls shivered and a sound like groaning metal filled the chamber. A shadow rippled across the far side of the core, a distortion that made Elara's eyes water to look at. It had no fixed form, just a suggestion of limbs, shifting angles that defied geometry. The air grew cold, Oppressive. The Null Kin had come. Defensive positions. Rel barked, raising his weapon. The Revenant's fused sentinels stirred, mechanical limbs unfolding like grotesque sculptures in motion. The thing lunged, not with speed but inevitability, as if space itself carried it forward. Elara fired instinctively, but the rounds vanished, swallowed by the void within the entity. The sentinels attacked, energy beams raking across the distortion, causing it to recoil briefly, space warping violently with each hit. "It's not enough," Voss shouted. "Our weapons aren't designed for this." "The core can burn them back," Hale said, "but I must engage it directly. Keep them off me." Rel and his squad formed a perimeter, their rifles hissing as specialized rounds lit the air. Each impact flashed like a dying star, slowing the creature's advance. Elara moved to cover Hale, watching as he stepped into the core's light. The cables from his back detached and plunged into the heart of the reactor. Hale's body convulsed, his voice emerging both from his throat and the walls themselves. Commencing breach stabilization. The Null Kin screamed, a sound that didn't come to the ears but throbbed directly in the mind. Elara winced, her vision blurring, her balance tilting as if gravity itself betrayed her. The creature split into fractal shapes, attempting to surround them, its edges eating light. "They're trying to slip past." Rel yelled, firing at a shard of the entity that peeled off like a splintered shadow. "We can't hold them." "Just a minute more," Hale groaned. 1 minute. Voss screamed in frustration, smashing controls on a scanner. "Their presence is fracturing time around us. Seconds are unstable." Elara squeezed her rifle. Firing burst into distortion, fighting back dread that seeped into her thoughts like poison. She thought of Earth, of the people who would never see this darkness, never know how close it had come. She thought of the stellar wind, still docked, still vulnerable. "Hale!" she shouted. "You're going to tear yourself apart." "It is necessary," Hale answered through bloodied teeth. "This is what survival costs." The core ignited suddenly, a flare of blinding light that seared through the chamber. The Null Kin shrieked, pulling away, their forms unraveling into smoke and echoes. The ship trembled, but the rift's presence began to recede, slowly, painfully. Hale collapsed to his knees, cables retracting. He looked up at Elara, his eyes dim but clear. "We can hold them, for now, but we must return. Finish the seal." Elara met Rel's gaze. He was bruised, exhausted, but alive. "We can't abandon them." "We shouldn't even be alive," Rel muttered, lowering his weapon. Voss, pale and shaking, said, "If they go back, we have to help, or this will all have been for nothing." Elara nodded slowly. "Then we go back to the stellar wind. We prepare, and we follow Hale's lead." The chamber was quieter now, though the sense of unease never left. Somewhere, the Null Kin still waited, hungry and patient. As they withdrew, Hale's voice followed them. "The war is not over, Captain. You've only seen the beginning." The stellar wind floated at a precarious distance from the Revenant, its engines primed for retreat, yet idling in tense suspension. Elara stood at the observation deck, watching the fractured space pulse where the rift still shimmered, a wound in the fabric of reality that refused to close on its own. She barely felt the ache in her muscles or the weight of exhaustion. Her mind replayed Hale's warning on an endless loop. "We can hold them, but not forever." The calm crackled, Hale's voice pressing through the static. "The window narrows. If we are to return and complete the seal, it must be now." Elara pressed the transmission key. "We'll back your approach from this side. But if that rift collapses with you inside, then the Null Kin are trapped with us." Hale said flatly, "It is a price we've already paid." Rel stood behind her, his expression grim but steady. "We should still be ready to blow that rift apart if it doesn't seal." Voss shook his head from his console. Detonating the rift could shred the local fabric of space. "We'd stop them, maybe, but we'd tear a scar across this sector that'll never heal." "Then we buy time," Elara said. "We help them finish it their way." The Revenant began its slow drift toward the breach, engines flaring with an eerie, ghostly glow. Along its hull, energy conduits sparked to life, channeling reserves deeper than any modern ship could fathom. Hale's crew, those hybrid sentinels fused to the ship, sang a low, resonant tone, a ritual of farewell or defiance. No one could tell. "We're receiving a data packet," Voss reported. "Schematics, algorithms, battle records from their war with the Null Kin. It's everything Hale said he'd give us." "Make sure it survives," Elara ordered. The rift began to swallow the Revenant, the ship disappearing by degrees into blackness that churned and fought against closure. Space itself seemed to scream, a sound felt more than heard. Then, without ceremony, the Revenant vanished, taking its alien hum and its ghostly lights with it. The rift pulsated violently, then stabilized, shrinking but refusing to fully close. A scar, but no longer a portal, at least for now. The bridge fell into silence. No immediate threat followed, no monstrous silhouette rising from a void, but the weight of what lingered pressed heavy. "Is that it?" Rel asked quietly. "Did we just trust the ship of the dead to save us?" Voss stared at his screens. "We bought time. That's all. But this data, Hale's transmissions, they change everything. The Null Kin aren't just a threat beyond the rift. They exist wherever space can't defend itself. He said there are fractures we haven't seen yet." Elara nodded, gaze still locked on the dark where the rift had been. "Then we prepare. We tell command. We use every scrap of knowledge they gave us. And if they don't believe us?" Rel asked. "Then we prepare without them," Elara said. "Because Hale's right. The war isn't over. It never was." The transmission systems pinged. One final signal from the rift, weak, fragmented. Voss played it on audio, and a strained voice whispered through the speakers. "Keep the fire burning. Never let them forget." Then silence. Elara straightened. The galaxy remained indifferent, its stars burning on as if nothing had happened. But she knew better. Somewhere beyond light and reason, the Revenant fought on, holding the line alone. She turned to her crew. "Set course for Terran Command. We have a war to warn them about." The stellar wind pivoted, its engines igniting with quiet purpose. Behind them, space remained still, but Elara felt the eyes of the dark, watching, waiting for the next fracture to bleed.